Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide and another edition of questions and answers. We've been going with this series for quite a while and it's something that I enjoy quite a lot to do, and I'm really happy to see that you guys are enjoying it as well. So let's roll your questions and I'm going to answer to the best of my ability. I'm curious to know if you are still using your Note Max as essentially an almost desktop replacement, i.e. using it for all your major tasks, allowing you to step away from a full computer for hours or perhaps even days at a time. I'm very intrigued by this possibility and would love to hear your thoughts on this, or even a full video if this is indeed what you do. Well, first of all, yes, my full-on driver for any and all ePaper related tasks is still Note Max, and regardless, despite its size, I constantly kind of use it everywhere where I can. No, I have not updated it to 4.1 yet. I will have a dedicated video on that. Why? It really depends on what type of tasks I am doing, because I do quite a lot of things, really a wide range of things. So right now I'm focused a lot, like 80 to 90% of my time is going on the development and finalization of the development and TLC level of stuff for the video game that I've been developing for the past 5 almost 6 years now, and obviously that cannot be done on the Note Max, so that's done on the full-on workstation and things like that. However, even there, I've made a video about that. I do have a portion of work there that I do on the Note Max. All of my planning is done, or the big scale planning is done there. Project management stuff is of course on the computer, but calendar-like planning is done on the Note Max. But as far as the project itself goes, designing, thinking, brainstorming kind of things, sketching out stuff, even writing pseudocode blocks and solving some of the issues and seeing what's what, all of that is actually still done on the Note Max, precisely for the point that you raised, which is stepping away from the computer. I noticed that changing the environment basically puts me into a different state of mind, which makes perfect sense. And that's very beneficial for type of work that requires a lot of concentration and that requires me to kind of be completely focused on the thing, and that's what Note Max is for. So even in video game development, I do allocate a portion of work that is being done on the Note Max, although it is a small one. The dominant one is of course on the computer. As far as other stuff goes, for example, My Deep Guide planning stuff. My Deep Guide planning stuff I do almost entirely on the Note Max, and it's a combination of MDO, so planning on MDO, writing and stuff, and scheduling things, and scheduling when which video will be, which days of the month will be scheduled for recording, like this, for example. I mean, I can show you an example. And even this is like from a previous video, and that's again in MDO. Basically, that's where I kind of live that, and if I can't do stuff here, then I do it differently. So here's an example of March, right? So I have it scheduled out like this, and you can see that I have MDG and MA. MA is the game, Mars Awakening, that I'm working on, and as you can see, it occupies the majority of the month. But I've also kind of made it so that MDG is available to me at a glance with colored boxes, so that I can see well in advance when I have an MDG day versus an MA day, because it's a very different kind of shift in focus, and I have to kind of prepare for that. And not only that, but basically now when I have MDG, right, and if I tap on today, so today is this day that I'm doing, and I go here, and I've already prepared this basically end of January. I was making these preparations, and right now we're on March 2, and I'm recording these 3 videos, and it says record and start editing. And then for tomorrow, it's another MDG day, and that is, okay, finish, edit, and publish these videos. That is one level of integration of how I use Note Max in MDG related work tasks, and the other one is in Coda, and that's basically on a website. I mean, you do have Coda app, but it sucks. I use it via the browser, so via browser again on Notemax. I go to Coda, log into my account, and I do all of my MDG project planning, script writing, to-do lists, like checking what type of material has been recorded, like B-rolls, top-down, I don't know, whatever kind of related stuff is done, and also reminders, which I then use again on the Notemax when I'm recording videos that are more complex. Then I have a Coda page displayed here, and I put it behind the frame so that it's right there that I can read as a reminder. So in an MDG related tasks, Notemax is basically, pretty much all of it, except the recording stuff and obviously editing. So once I get to the editing phase, I don't edit on the Notemax. I do that on the computer, but everything else planning wise, as much as I possibly can, I stay on the Notemax. Second question, the anchor is a deal breaker. I read from the Max while teaching, moving between book sections, and it obscures the text so I can't read it. The anchor does dismiss after 3-page turns, a decision which in itself is more infuriating than if it was just permanent. It's so arbitrary. I fully agree. While studying, it eliminates the possibility of getting into a workflow. I could increase the margins, but why should I decrease screen real estate to accommodate their incompetency? 100% agreed. A year ago, I was reporting the Max as one of the favorite tech devices I've ever owned of any type. Today, I feel my heart sink when I pick it up. That is genuinely sad to hear. I'm very, very sad to hear for your experience, because it's your investment, right? But it's also an experience that you hear from other people, and there's a handful of people who, let's say, they use the device differently, but the loudest people who are proponents and say like, oh, it's just fine, are people who don't even care or don't take into consideration the fact that the issues with the 4.1 update, even if they don't affect you as a person, it doesn't negate their existence, and it doesn't negate the seriousness of what it poses. If you are one of those people who says, oh, update 4.1 is nothing but awesome for me, great for you, but you also need to use empathy and open up your ears to listen to actually hear what other users who are affected today by these changes. You know why? Because even though it doesn't affect you today, update 4.2 or 4.3, it might directly affect you, like these users and myself are being affected by the update 4.1. So it's in your interest as well to listen and to actually hear the concerns that other experienced Boox users, real-world Boox users have about this thing, and not make excuses for inadequacies and incompetencies that Boox has actually shown and demonstrated here with the update 4.1. It's in your interest, and it's in everybody's interest, to hold them responsible so that they don't do that kind of crap again. Remaking to-dos from notes on Boox. The answer is actually sorta kinda yes, but somewhat no. I love that. You can lasso text, select AI from text recognition, select all the text in the text box that's converted, and then pick share, which will let you to send it anywhere, including your favorite to-do app. Like a lot of things in Boox OS, this is clunky, but it works. There are a lot of ways that could make this less painful to use. That is very helpful workaround to kind of share, so thank you very much for bringing that to attention, because even though it is clunky, it still is something that will genuinely work. I would add one other thing as well. You don't have to share. You can actually do the Control A and C, or select all text and copy, and that will be in the clipboard memory. Because it's Android, it's gonna hold it, and you should be able to copy or paste it into another app as well from your notebook. It's a nice workaround. True, it's clunky, but you can at least do it versus nope, no way to do it at all. So it's better than nothing. E-ink really has stalled, perhaps died compared to 2 years ago. So little progress has been made in that period. Would be interesting to know why. And then another person says diminishing returns, size of the market, stuff like that. My guess would be actually two other things. One is pushing for color screens, which is a dead-end technology in Kaleido 4, because there's you can make the Kaleido as best as freaking possible, and even if Kaleido Colorsoft is Scribe Colorsoft is going to be like the best color device since sliced bread, it's still a dead-end technology, and it's a horrible compromise. Why? Because it has that CFA layer on top, and that CFA layer on top is a physical obstacle for illumination and for sharpness and accuracy of the display that you will see. And that obstacle can never be kind of bypassed as long as you're using Kaleido type of technology. But naturally, the color thing sells better because it's shiny, right? So you can have color content. And people gravitate towards that because it's color, but it's what you're used to. It's what you think that you want. It's what you think that you need. Two, I think, is oversaturation with garbage products and no identity. Long time ago, ePaper devices had a clear identity, and they were so far away, so far removed from a thing like this that it didn't even feel natural to try and compare the two. They were something completely different. You had a phone, color screen and stuff, and then you had a Kindle. And back then it was just a Kindle, that's how it was called. And it was a very different kind of thing. As the refresh speeds got faster, and as we've gotten to have basically Android tablets that happen to use an e-ink screen, which is a Boox tablet, for example, that muddled the waters a lot. And that changed the expectations as far as I am concerned. And I think that because of that, that also raised sales and that also raised awareness. It made it more kind of sexy because then people go like, hey, maybe I can use this instead of my regular thing. If you check out the comments here and everywhere else, a lot of people are basically trying to see, hey, can I check this e-ink thing instead of my tablet? I think the technology basically kind of went like from the direction that ePaper devices and technology was going towards, yeah, regular stuff that we're using, just that it actually uses the screen. And to me, that branch is the thing that's kind of worrying, and that's the stuff that I'm not a big fan. Then again, I'm guilty of it as well. I'm using Note Max because it has all of that kind of stuff and because it can actually replace it. So has it really stalled? I would disagree with that it's stopped, but I do feel that it has changed. When I asked Boox for a way to revert from 3.5.3, they said they were aware of the issues, and I mentioned that and fixed them in that I mentioned, and that they will fix them in the next update. They never did though, edit, and I have been bugging them about a black and white Note Air since they've discontinued the Note Air 3. I've been bugging them about the 4.1 as well, to no avail. Actually, so much so that I've never received any kind of reply. And that's pretty much it. So unfortunately, they don't really care. They have their direction, they're going to do it their way, and that's pretty much it. There's very little that you can do other than kind of be aware and check out and see, like, basically at this point, do not update at the latest updates until you're very sure that it doesn't break the stuff that you care about and things like that. That would be my kind of blanket advice for any Boox user, and that's something that I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to have one sacrificial device for mydeepguide that I'm going to upgrade, and so I can show you and check out and test this stuff, so that I can be the sacrificial dude that's actually showing you this. But for my personal stuff, no way. Absolutely no way. What's currently your daily driver? And a few months ago I saw you using Coda, now I switched over from Notion and Obsidian. I'm wondering, do you save your written notes on Coda as well, or do you keep them elsewhere? So basically, how are you combining the written and typed notes you make? Thanks for your wonderful videos. Thank you so much for your kindness and for watching. As far as my workflow, well, I've already answered it with the Note Max. So my daily driver is Note Max. And yes, I do use Coda. I don't use Obsidian. I've tried it. It doesn't fit my needs. I see why people like it, and I think that it can be incredibly powerful for certain types of workflows, but that's not me, and it doesn't suit my needs. As for integration of written notes and digital stuff, I don't directly integrate them. I keep them intentionally separate because I try to separate my analog style planning versus digital side of planning, or the ePaper and computer side of planning, because I continuously use both of them at the same time. Occasionally, I will have a need to include something in there, and that I usually do in one of two ways. Because I'm using Coda on the Note Max as well, then it's really easy. So I will either convert the handwritten stuff to text, copy paste that into a Coda page and then take it from there. Or if I do have some sketches and things like that, then I will either take a screenshot and include that as an image in a Coda page. Or if I do want the full document, if I have like a big notebook with a lot of stuff, then I will simply export the whole notebook as a PDF and then use that PDF elsewhere as I see fit, usually just as a link to a resource file. So it's used as a resource file and then I link to it, but that's very, very rare. I will try to avoid doing that. I would rather segment it out into per page so that I can have a link to a relevant thing rather than scrolling through a PDF and trying to find stuff. So those are the use type cases of when I need to integrate analog style stuff into my digital store. Yeah, planning and organizational kind of stuff. Hi Waya, I hope you consider making a video about the recent remarkable beta updates 3.25 and 3.26. I've actually done 3.25. There seem to be several interesting changes, new browser apps, better Google Drive, MS Word integration, even JPEG and PNG files might be easily transferred to the remarkable. I'm not sure if there's some downsides related to this. In the updated privacy policy, the company is no longer promising to fulfill the requirements of GDPR servers in Norway, but now they only kind of try to servers partially outside European countries, EFTA, EU. The company I'm working for requires compliance with the GDPR, so if this is true, I couldn't use the remarkable any longer for work. I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, and I don't know if this is really related to the updates, but I'm pretty sure that in the summer of 2025 the privacy policy promised compliance with the GDPR. As far as the GDPR thing, I'm not really fully informed with this, so I'm not going to be guessing or speculating on that. I think it is best if this is addressed by somebody who actually is better informed than either you or me, and that they can actually share their comment down here so that they can inform us all better on what that actually means and what is the actual meaning. But I do please implore you that if you're going to comment on this, don't just give your opinion, share information and factual kind of stuff. In the context of this question, it's actually just the factual stuff that matters, and somebody who's informed and who has done the research on this point. As far as the updates 3.25 and 3.26, upcoming 3.26, I will check it out. Currently it's in beta. Normally I don't do tests in beta, but sometimes I do, so we'll see. 3.25, it's fine, and the introduction of Google Drive, yeah, it's okay, the way it's integrated, but it should be so much more. And it should be, if you're going to introduce cloud stuff, it needs to be a two-way communication street. So from cloud to the device, from the device to the cloud, and currently you don't have that other one. The return doesn't exist. You only can do from the cloud onto the device and then onto Remarkable platform. So it goes like cloud, Remarkable, and then somewhere else, so that you can only so that you can come back into the cloud. That, I think, is completely unnecessary, and until they have a two-way connection to cloud services, it's going to be incomplete. Vennlig hilsen fra en som har bodd I Norge I 2 år. Gratulerer. I have been researching ePaper tablets for several months now. I have been very envious of my daughter's Remarkable, but it is missing one feature I consider a must. I want to run a specific app that is only available on iOS, Android and Windows. I settled on the Boox NA5C as my perfect choice until I saw your review with concerns about the Boox 4.1 firmware. Now I am stuck and need some advice. My wish is pretty simple, but apparently hard to find. Color ePaper display, ability to run my app, and solid reliability. I also have to admit that now I am also very interested in your mydeepguide organizer after finding your channel. What do I do now? Should I buy the Boox and hope they get their act together with firmware, wait it out, or find something else? Well, here's the thing. For your specific needs, I think it has to be Boox. I would stay away from Bigme because they're just not good enough devices and the environment is even worse than Boox. So as far as the environment, I think Boox is the right call. Now, which device to go for? Depends on your app. If your app requires the latest Android, then you're kind of locked in and you have to buy the latest devices that Boox has on offering. If not, you may want to look into older Boox devices, maybe Note Air 4C or maybe Tab XC. Basically devices that don't come with 4.1 pre-installed. Now, that in itself is not really a solution because you're going to be buying for you a new device that's already going to be locked down because you won't have an option to update to the best and latest version of 4.0, which solves bugs and things like that from the release. You will be forced to update to the latest, which is 4.1 point something, and then you will introduce the issues that that update actually brings to the table. But there's also a second side of this coin, which is, from what it kind of reads here, it sounds like you are not a Boox device owner already, that you're not familiar with the environment and the ecosystem. In those cases, the 4.1 limitations are going to be less impactful. You will be impacted by some of them, but it's going to be a little bit less simply because you're going to be learning everything from scratch with the limitations and with the issues that Boox OS 4.1 brought to the table. So your impact, the negative impact of the 4.1 is going to be less than somebody who was on 4.0 and then was updated to 4.1. That's where the biggest impact is, because not just the changes, but actual functionality has been ruined and worsened in some cases of how it used to be. But you don't know that. You haven't used it before. So your point of reference is something completely different than, for example, mine or other people who have used a Boox device on 4.0. So from that standpoint, the negative impact of 4.1 may not be as dramatic for you. And there, I think, Note Air 5C would make sense, or Tab XC, and then you update it to the latest one, it would make sense as well. Just be aware of the pen differences between the Tab XC and the Note Air 5C and see which do you prefer more, and for your specific app need, which works better. Do you need bigger screen real estate like the 13.3 inch of the Tab XC offers, or do you need the Note Air 5C that's portable and kind of most functional type of a footprint? I'm puzzled by this because I've updated my 5C to 4.1.2 and I do not have most of the bugs you're describing in your review. I don't even have the hardware problem of the stylus. It sits stable right below the volume buttons. It's even unstable if I attach it over the volume button. Not saying you're lying or anything, it's just my experience with the 5C is alarmingly different. I think Boox quietly did a hardware update without telling anyone, which is kind of an admission that it was a bad design. And I've heard that actually from a few other people, and I've seen one example where they've actually tested the strength of magnets in the recent newer Note Air 5C units, and lo and behold, now suddenly the stronger magnets are in that lower position, not in the upper old position. It must be a true mystery what has happened. So yes, obviously this is a clear but silent admission that the initial run of devices was a cock-up. However, I have a huge issue with how this has been handled, and that is the silent part. You don't do that. They should have recalled the original batch of devices that had faulty magnet placement if they are already updating the ones that they have. That's not a cool move at all. That's a move that you don't want to see from a company do at all, and it does not instill confidence, and it's not something that I think should be awarded, praised, or anything like that. If anything, it shines the light even further on the fact that, yeah, Boox has great devices from time to time, but the way that the company actually deals with customer support and their customer relations is really, really bad. And just doing a silent fix without a recall sucks. It sucks a lot, because what about those people who actually bought and pre-ordered the first line of devices? What about them? I mean, it's great that the new customers are getting this, but what about those who actually adopted the device and shelled out the same amount of money as the other guys, yet got inferior product? That's what I have a problem with. Same amount of money, inferior product, no chance to actually end up with the same thing. That sucks. Finally, someone mentioned how they use their e-ink device. The fire inspector piece was great. I fully agree. That was awesome. Well, yeah, you need to put out a video which solely focuses on how people use their e-ink devices on the job. Excellent idea. I, for one, use my Supernote AX10, I guess A5X2, in law enforcement, backgrounds, and recruiting. During an initial interview of a candidate, I document over 160 questions asked using my Supernote. I also use Supernote for check-off lists, calendar, email, etc. Keep up the good work, Boya. Thank you so much for sharing your workflow, because I fully agree. I think that it's really, really insightful, not just for me, but for other people as well, to kind of hear, hey, what are you doing with your ePaper device on your day-to-day basis? If it's work related, if it's personal stuff related, or anything like that, I think that it's like incredibly insightful, and it can be very, very useful for a lot of people to kind of say like, okay, some of the things may not be relevant, but they may be interested, but more often than not, there will be like snippets of things. It's like, oh, well, yeah, actually I could use that snippet and put it into my workflow. So thank you very much for sharing, and thank you very much for the idea. It's something that I will be definitely thinking about and seeing if I can kind of reach out and collect a few stories and then, collate that into one piece. That's it from me and for this edition of Q&A. Thank you so much for participating. If you want to have your questions answered and all addressed, the best way to do that is to actually post them as comments in one of the Q&A videos, latest Q&A videos, because that's the first place where I look for gathering questions for the next Q&A session. So just be sure to ask questions here if there's something that you are wondering about. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!